Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has been out for a little bit of time now, and you may have just purchased it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some tricks and tips that you may know or may not know about your iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, luckily for you, this is one of the most expensive iPhones Apple has ever made, so you may want to go ahead and preserve the resale value. I would highly recommend putting a screen protector, putting a case on, and quite possibly making sure you're not overheating your phone and different things like that, because the biggest tip I can tell you is if you want to resell your phone later down the line and you want to maintain its value, you may want to go ahead and make sure you keep it in good condition overall. So that's number one. The second thing, the iPhone 13 Pro Max now has this beautiful ProMotion display. Now you do have the option of going up to 120 Hertz, and the way you'll see it is pretty much if you scroll through the display, if you go ahead and go into multitasking, pretty much all the stable assets of everything that you're going to use throughout your iPhone 13 Pro Max, you now have a 120 Hertz panel, which is awesome. Now you do have the ability of turning it off if you want. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but you do have the opportunity to do it. So to do this, you want to hop inside of your settings application like this. You can go ahead and scroll down to accessibility, and right here where it says motion, you want to go ahead and click there. And you do have the option of limiting frame rate. Now you may not want to do this. The only reason you may want to do it is to help the battery life. But to be honest, the battery life is so good that I probably wouldn't even recommend turning it off. But that's, ProMotion in a nutshell. It's amazing. It smoothens out the whole entire display. The UI looks so much smoother. iOS is so smooth, but it brings so much more capability, which is awesome. Now another cool iPhone 13 Pro Max feature is actually associated with iOS 15, and any iOS 15 device can do this, and that is drag and drop. So before, if you ever wanted to copy something over to another, device or another, not device, but another, app or something, you had to copy it, click copy, go ahead and scroll out of it, paste it somewhere else. It was kind of annoying. Well, now you actually have the opportunity of dropping and dragging and dragging and dropping, which we didn't have before. So let's say we have this note, right? And we want to go ahead and drag this image over to that new note. What we can do is we can go and hold down on the image as we normally would. And as you can see, I now have it dragging. So before it wouldn't even drag, it would just open up, but you can see underneath my, massive finger, you can see the little, image that we're dragging. So now we can use our other fingers like this, swipe out of it, and we're still dragging that specific thing. And we can go ahead and make our way over to that new note, and we can literally just drop this specific, image right here. Now, for some reason, I don't think it may, so it actually did work before I didn't think it was going to work. And you can see we just dragged this image straight into our, iPhone note. And you can do this all across. This is system, this is UI, this is all across the UI. So if you have one thing within one application, things like iMessage, and you want to drag an iMessage text to a note or whatever, you can do it all across the board, which is beautiful. It's one of my favorite things about iOS 15. Now on top of that, another cool little feature with iOS 14 that was still supported with the 13 Pro Max is back tap. So you can actually go ahead and create different commands that when you double tap the back or triple tap the back of your iPhone 13 Pro Max, you can do things like take a screenshot, turn off the display, different things like that. There's a lot of capability here. So in order to do this, you want to hop inside of your settings panel. You want to scroll down again to accessibility. And then what you want to do is you want to go down to touch, which is right here. So you want to go and click here. You'll see a couple different things that pop up. But what you want to do is at the very bottom, you'll see back tap. So you want to go ahead and click on back tap. And right here, you can set up different commands for double tap and triple tap. So if we go and click on double tap, we can go ahead and make it so when we click on double tap, we can go ahead and screenshot our specific display. So now if I go ahead and double tap the back, so again, you double tap just like this onto the back of the display, I just double tapped, you'll see that it'll actually take a screenshot of your device. And like I mentioned, there's a ton of different things that you can go ahead and modify here, which is amazing. And if you want to turn it off, you can always go back over here, click none, and it'll go ahead and turn off that specific back tap. Now, another cool thing is reachability. For a massive phone like the iPhone 13 Pro Max, this is something you're probably going to want to do. So in order to do this, what you want to do is you want to find where your little bottom bar is on your iPhone, and you just want to swipe down. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can see when you swipe down, you actually see that your specific iPhone display comes down. It'll go and create this empty list here, and you can go ahead and use your iPhone as you normally would. And that is something that really, really helps out for me, especially even on the 13 Pro or 12 Pro that I had before. Anytime I wanted to go ahead and drag down, it helps me so much without having to do such crazy phone gymnastics. So that's another really cool little thing I'd recommend you guys to look at. Now, the camera application is one of the craziest things with the 13 Pro Max, because this is one of the craziest, cameras Apple's ever made. Now, if we make our way over to our camera application, at the bottom, you guys may already know this, but you can always maneuver through your whole entire different setups here, portrait mode. There's a new cinematic mode as well, which is beautiful. I have a whole separate video coming out soon that'll explain all of that in detail. But under this photo section, there's actually, this is probably the way you're going to use it the most. But up top, there's a little up arrow. If you go and click on that up arrow, it'll go ahead and show you all these other settings that we have down below. So you can go ahead and configure night mode. You can go ahead and do flash on and off. You can change the aspect ratio of a photo. I typically like 18:9. Some other people may prefer 4:3. You can change the exposure and all this other crazy stuff. I mean, there's so many different options here that, if you ever wanted to, you have all the ability of changing different things here, setting up a timer as well, which is really cool. But on top of that, up top, you have a live photo if you want to turn it on or off. I would always recommend turning it off. You have the little filter options, so you can go ahead and change up your little filters that you want, so you can change up, so many different things within this Photos application. But another thing I would recommend you to look at is actually within your settings application. So if we make our way back over to our settings app and we scroll down to our camera section for our, application for our settings. So we keep scrolling until we see camera here. You want to click on camera, not phone books. And here you'll see a ton of different options you can go ahead and modify. Now, one of the coolest ones is under formats. So we can click on formats up here and you will see that we have this new Apple Pro RAW option. Now, this came with last year's iPhone, and what this does is it actually allows us to take such high resolution and high quality photos from this specific camera. So if we enable this, now do keep in mind they are very high in size, but if you want, you can go and click on that. We can make our way back over to our camera app, and if you remember before we had a little filter option, now that is changed to a RAW option. So we can go ahead and click that, and these photos will now be taken in Pro RAW, which is a very high resolution, very good photo. But again, you may not need it, but it's a very cool thing that you have the ability of that came with last year's iPhone that is still supported here, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. We can make our way back over to our camera application. We can swipe back and we're in those, standard, little camera application settings. I want to record video, we can go and click there and you'll see a ton of different things. I would pretty much always recommend keeping this at 1080p at 30. It saves the most amount of storage and it still is pretty good high quality photo and video. Right down here under HDR video, this is a highly recommend thing that I would probably recommend you to turn on. It essentially allows high dynamic range. And this actually uses Dolby Vision. So this actually makes your video quality so much better from what I've heard. And in real life use, this may actually be a pretty big thing I would recommend you to look at. So all you have to do is go ahead and enable this little toggle where it says HDR video, and it'll automatically enable. So when you go under video here, you'll see this new little toggle. You'll see in the top right corner, you can always change your resolution there. We're currently on HD, which is good, but you can also tap on your little toggle up there and you can go from HD to 60. You can also tap on the HD option to change it to 4K, or you can also change the number to 4K at 30 by clicking on it like that, or 4K at 24 and all this other crazy stuff. So there's a lot of other changes you can do within your Photos application straight from the Photos app, camera app, and also within the settings panel, which is beautiful. Now, I do want to show you another awesome feature that your iPhone 13 may actually have. And whether you're on a 13 Pro Max or whether you even like an iPhone XS, you can do this. It's an iOS 15 feature. And this is actually live text. So what this does is it allows you to extract text from images, which sounds crazy, which may sound super boring, but there's a lot more going on than you may think. So if I make my way over to my settings panel, this is just an example. I'll go ahead and screenshot this, right? So this is an image. Normally you wouldn't be able to copy text from an image, you know what I mean? This is like, we'll just look at the screenshot. So we'll make our way over to our Photos panel. We'll click here and we'll click on that little, settings screenshot that we just did. So as you can see, I can zoom in, and normally you wouldn't be able to, you can copy an image maybe on an iPhone, but you can't really, copy the text from it. But now in iOS 15, if we just hold down on the text, you'll see that we will now be able to copy the text from an image. And this is just like copying any other text, and it's so precise and it's so good. So we can go ahead and copy this text. I hope I copied it. Let me just make sure. We can go make our way over to our notes panel. I can go and click paste. So let's go and try it again. Let me just copy whatever this was. So I just click copy. Let me just go and go over here, click paste. And you will see that it does actually copy and paste the specific text that we had. And this is extremely awesome. And this is like kind of a bad example because this is a pretty high quality image. For even bad quality images that I've taken, it actually does a great job at copying the text from it. So that is crazy. In my opinion, it's one of the coolest features with iOS 15, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max also supports it, which is beautiful. Now, there is another cool thing with the iOS 15 and with the iPhone 13 Pro Max that's actually focus mode. So if we swipe down from the top right corner, you'll pretty much come into here and you'll see this new little focus mode option, possibly. But you most probably will see a do not disturb option here too. I've seen both. Most of the time it's the focus mode option unless you have do not disturb mode on. So what we can do is we can hold down on the do not disturb and you will see a little bit of a different setup. Before, it would just say do not disturb, and maybe you can change some settings here and there. But these focus mode options actually allow you to focus in on different portions of do not disturb. You can set automatics. So basically, if you want to set a time from like noon to 5 that you're doing work stuff, then you can set a do not disturb mode specifically for work related apps or non-work related apps, and you can set this up to be automatic, and it's actually extremely cool. You can also make your way over to your settings panel like this, scroll down until you see focus mode right here. You can also mess with these settings as well. And when I tell you there are a ton of settings, I mean, just within do not disturb, there's a lot of cool things. These new focus modes are really cool, and I would highly recommend you guys to look at these too. Now finally, this isn't really a trick but more so a tip. The iPhone 13 Pro Max, from what I've tested from my battery test not too long ago, like about 3 days ago, this phone has some of the best battery life I've ever tested. It's still, beating out the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the 11 Pro Max, the 10s Max, and pretty much every other iPhone I've ever tested. This iPhone has the best battery life I've ever tested from any iPhones. I still think some Androids probably beat it from what I tested, but this is a beautiful iPhone. So you don't even really have to turn on low power mode too often unless you're trying to go for like a week. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the best iPhones you can purchase. And I think you did a good thing by picking it up. So that pretty much is it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of these tricks and tips. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.